Hey, what's up, guys? It's X Morgan with My Spiritual Life, and I got Jared, my husband, helping me out here today. Thank you. And today we're talking about how every bad feeling you've ever felt is probably from Satan.
Where else would it come from, I guess?
So just as a little preface, in the previous video, if you haven't seen already, the link is below. I talked about the importance of feeling your feelings in order to move past traumatic experiences like leaving a religion or family issues or whatever. It's important that we feel our feelings in order to move on, yet a lot of us are stuck, trapped in these thoughts that we were taught growing up about why we aren't actually allowed to feel certain feelings that we're feeling. Dr. Mark Brackett wrote a book called Permission to Feel. I just bought it, super excited about it. And in that book, he talks about meta-emotions, which is having an emotion about an emotion, which is kind of this concept that we're going to be talking about today. Emotion inception, which makes dealing with your emotions, you know, like inception amounts of harder and confusing.
Not quite as confusing as Inception, I would say.
I don't know. My feelings are pretty confusing. The most common examples I feel like we have these like meta emotions or we feel like we're not allowed to feel is anger, sadness, and fear. And of course there's so many others, but those are kind of like three big ones that especially for me in my life stood out.
I think kind of the driving force behind this is that we're not as careful as we should be as like parents or mentors or whatever, ensuring that our lesson is being perceived correctly. Because lessons like don't let your emotions control you are very valuable lessons. And those three lessons are, those three emotions you just named are, I would say, the emotions that are most likely to control you or to overwhelm you. You don't want to live life, in fear. You don't want to be unduly afraid of things, but there's a certain amount of fear that you ought to have towards certain things that are dangerous. Same with, the other two. And I think rather than ensuring, as a mentor that your student, I guess, intends that message the way it's supposed to be, a lot of times, don't let your emotions control you ends up coming off as...
Don't feel those emotions.
Yeah. Anytime you feel angry, it's bad. And then, obviously, if you believe in Satan, anything bad comes from Satan. So, obviously, anger always comes from Satan. And that's sort of a bad take on it because, Jesus gets pretty pissed off in the Bible. And... nobody's like, Jesus really let
Satan take him over.
Take a hold of him.
That's a good point. I think for me growing up, I was kind of taught this message over and over again that if you were angry, that it was directly coming from Satan. That anger was never good, that it was never okay, it was never appropriate to feel, and that there was something wrong with you if you were feeling angry. So this made me go to, like, the opposite extreme where, like, I'd let people push me around and be rude to me because I felt like anger wasn't ever an appropriate response. So it's like, turn the other cheek, like, hit me again. Like, that's the better way to react. And I wasn't being abused physically or anything like that. But it's that attitude that I had that really created some really unhealthy dynamics in my life. And, like, I felt noble in doing so, which was sad. Another reason we can hate anger is, like, if we had an abusive parent that was angry all the time, then we can be like, oh, yeah, I saw growing up, anger is never a good thing. So there's always these ways, these messages that we can kind of pick up on that can cause us to view the emotion as inherently bad when truly no emotion is inherently bad.
Bad on its own. It's just kind of what you do with it. I'll have to go back and watch it again to make sure I like it, but I really liked the movie Inside Out.
That's what I was going to bring up next when we talk about sadness.
Oh, okay. Well, you go for it.
Well, I was just going to say, So sadness is one of the other ones I brought up. Anger, sadness, and fear. And with sadness, I think growing up a lot when we're younger, we're kind of like, our parents panic when we're upset. And I know because I do it when my 2-year-old's upset. And I'm just like, what can I do right now to distract you from feeling sad? Like, because sadness is just not something we want you to feel. And I think that we can internalize that, and then when we get older, when we feel sad, we immediately go to, what can I distract myself with? And so I was going to say, and I thought you were going to mention it too, I was going to say, you only have to watch, what's that movie called?
Inside Out.
Inside Out one time to realize how beautiful sadness is.
So I think the term that a lot of people use is toxic positivity, which the word toxic has been all but ruined, so I don't like that. But it's sort of on point, and the way in Inside Out, the way that joy treats sadness is often the way that a lot of mentor figures or parents will treat the sadness of their kid, and kind of like, oh, shoo, like there's no use for you or whatever.
Get away.
And it can be kind of crippling because we need to be able to process negative emotion, because those 3 emotions are negative emotion, but they're valuable. There's a reason they exist.
Yeah.
And if we don't learn to process them, then we become very neurotic and just full of anxiety and nonsense like that.
Exactly. See, I feel like that's exactly what my problem was for years. Like, I just didn't have any healthy coping techniques, so all of this stuff was just boiling underneath me, because it was like every hurt, just shove it down. Every fear, just shove it down. Like, every time I was angry, well, can't feel that, shove it down. And that does make you, like, insane. That's just too much to be holding on to. It doesn't, shoving it down does not equal it going away, is what I've learned. So fear, I don't know if you guys were taught this, but I was taught this a lot growing up, that anytime I was feeling fear, that was always from Satan. Always. Which was very confusing.
Because why would Satan want to get you out of a dangerous situation? Like if Satan were really in control of me, I would feel right at home walking into a crack den with a 50% homicide rate or something like that. And I don't think he would tell me, this is scary, get out of here.
It was so confusing to me too, because for example, 3 years ago I went to get my hypnotherapy certification training, and I was really scared. And I was scared because I was feeling insecure, right? But on the surface, I was just scared, and I was like, is this Satan telling me I shouldn't do this thing? Like, I shouldn't make this choice in life? Or is this Satan, like, just trying to stop me from doing this thing that I should do in my life? It was just, like, I don't know what's going on. And so I think recognizing, like, that was helpful for me as I pulled away from this kind of belief that fear in itself was bad or wrong to feel, and started to perceive it as, oh, no, fear is an expression of my insecurities, and if I can look into why am I feeling afraid, saving you from danger, yeah, that too, but why am I feeling afraid, I can understand myself better, and I can move forward better.
You sort of have to do your best to analyze your negative emotions unemotionally, if that makes any sense. Observe it, like, what is happening? Feel the emotion, and then kind of say, all right, why does this make me afraid? Does what is happening right now warrant fear? And if so, how much fear? If not, how do I kind of calm down? Move past the fear.
So feeling angry, feeling sad, feeling afraid is super, super draining, right? But you know what's more draining? Is fighting against those feelings, because we're not allowed to feel them. That makes it so much more exhausting and harder to move forward. So for example, I was working with a client recently who just left Mormonism, going, it's hard. There's so much. And she was talking a lot about struggling with feeling upset with the way people were viewing her and treating her and making her feel. And she said something to the effect of, why can't I just get over it. Like, why can't I just let it go? I don't even care about these people. Like, I don't care. Like, these aren't people I look up to, and I'm still upset that they don't like me or they don't approve of me. And when I was talking with her, what I think we kind of discovered together was that she was disappointed. She was really hurt by the way these people were viewing her. But she was making this so much more complicated by feeling ashamed of how she felt about how these people felt about her. It was like, I know better. I know I shouldn't care what they think. So I'm angry at myself for getting upset at what they think of me. And it just like, it was compounding the entire, situation and making it so much harder to just process the disappointment that there are people in your life that you would like to see you in a certain way, and they're not doing that. And it sucks. And like, instead of just processing that, she was processing like, I'm so stupid and weak for, giving in to their, bad opinions of me. I think the message here is that we are complicated feelers. Like human beings. We have emotions and they're complicated. And moving through our trauma and our issues becomes so much more difficult when we have all these layers of emotions that we're allowed to feel and not allowed to feel, and things get so messy, right? I guess I want to submit to you guys that perhaps there are no bad emotions and that every emotion has a gift, right? As humans, we experience an array of emotions, and the truth is we don't have a lot of control over whether something hurts our feelings or not, or triggers us or not, but what we do have control over is how we respond, how we react, and if we allow ourselves to process those feelings or not. So, talking about the gifts of the emotions we brought up today. Anger. The gift of anger is having the courage to stand up for yourself or someone else when there's something unfair going on. Anger is a red flag that a boundary is being crossed. I love that so much. It blew my mind the first time I heard that concept that like anger is actually could be a good thing. And you know what I love about anger is like the emotion and intensity behind anger is that I deserve better, or this person deserves better than what is currently happening. And it's actually like really beautiful. Like it's good when someone's being mistreated to have the courage and power to say, I deserve better than this. And if you've been taught that anger is always from Satan, then it's really hard to do that. So not helpful.
It gets a little lost in translation because anger is one of those, like probably the most specific one that people attribute to Satan. And because you can, if you let the anger consume you, you can do some pretty stupid things.
Sure. And
so your anger can tell you something's happening. That's where it's mostly useful. Now, I think as far as like toying around with this in my mind, I'm pretty sure the only time you should act in your full rage is in an incredibly important, maybe even life or death situation. But in everyday situations, when you're angry, you ought to let that tell you something.
Yeah.
And then once you've calmed down, filter it through your more calm and collected mindset so you can say it without pissing off the person that you're trying to confront.
Yeah. So, like, for example, if you have someone say something to you that makes you angry, right? Maybe they say something about your kids or something like that, and you feel that anger, then you got to go and ask yourself, okay, why am I feeling this anger? Like, understand it, unpack it, and then ask yourself, does anything need to be done about this anger? Because I noticed in my life, sometimes I'm angry because an insecurity is getting triggered and I'm feeling ashamed, but sometimes I'm angry because I really am feeling mistreated by someone, and I feel like I do need to take action and say, hey, listen, like, boundary here, like, I need you to not say things like that, or whatever. Sadness. I actually got this quote from Sage Hill Counseling website. I just love the way that they defined like the gift of sadness. They said the gift of sadness is valuing and honoring life. One of the gifts of sadness is that it is the first step toward healing from loss. Sadness speaks directly to our need to grieve for what is gone. If we grieve genuinely, we eventually come to accept life on its terms. I loved that so much because it's kind of like the gift in sadness was like acceptance. You know, like you feel the sadness and it helps you appreciate the beauty in life because there's things that you've wanted that haven't worked out and that's hard. And then you come to acceptance. I thought that was lovely.
I think people that try to sort of eschew these negative emotions and just never feel them, they're kind of trying to have their cake and eat it too. Because if you wanted to do that, if you wanted to never experience sadness, you'd also just never have to experience happiness. The more happy you are, the more you're opening yourself up to be crushed.
Yeah.
And you got to be ready for that. Like, I mean, the most painful thing I can imagine happening to anyone is like losing a kid or something like that. And by having a kid and having all the utter bliss and joy that comes with having that kid, you're opening yourself up.
Yeah.
If you just never experience that good thing, then you would never ever risk experiencing just the soul-crushing sadness that would come with losing that kid.
So fear, the gift of fear is showing you where you need comfort and healing in your life. Our fears are an expression of our deepest insecurities. If you can notice what you're afraid of and why, then you can find courage to move forward. I love that. And I wrote it myself. You're welcome.
I'd say you want to get real introspective about fear, that one of the most fearful situations I've been in growing up were always whenever I was lying. My sister had a gingerbread house. It wasn't even gingerbread. It was made of chocolate.
No.
And I just, like, she wouldn't eat it. And that was enraging me because I was like, it's just sitting there. And I would, like, just snip a corner off of it or something and eat it. And the chimney was white chocolate, and I ate that. And I just... So she comes into the room and sees her desecrated chocolate house thing. And my mom was interrogating us about it. And she knew it was me, like, right away. And I can't tell you how just paranoid and fearful I was that whole time. And that fear was very valuable. It's telling me something's wrong. You've put yourself in a difficult situation.
Yeah.
And that fear can, I mean, obviously you should be honest because it's the right thing to do, but if nothing else, you should be honest because it's scary as hell to be a liar.
That's so interesting.
So you can be kind of introspective and be like, okay, I'm afraid of this thing that I did, and then you can think, why am I afraid of it? And like, well, because I was wrong to do it.
Right.
So a lot of what these negative emotions do is tell you that something's wrong, and you got to decide what to do with it. Don't let the emotion do with it.
Yeah, what it would.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. I think one last tip I have for today is that it's so easy in life to want to shut off the negative feelings and turn up the good feelings, you know? But I feel like, at least what I've seen in my life, is that you can't just turn off one emotion and turn on others. Like, I feel like anytime you're numbing yourself out from feelings, you're numbing yourself out from all feelings. And keeping that in mind, because we are able to be so much more present and connected with people when we're not hiding, you know? And so I think my tip with that is we can't just shut off some feelings. We got to shut them all off. So let's stop doing that, because no bueno, basically.
I think that a lot of very religious people try to find purpose in a lot of things that I don't know if I could find purpose in, you know? Like, when something terrible happens, they'll try to say something like, everything happens for a reason. It's all part of the plan or whatever. And I don't know why they then turn around and don't seem to do that with emotions, because, like, obviously there's a reason for every emotion you're having. And I'm thinking of it biologically. I'm not a biologist, obviously, but with my very loose understanding of adaptation and evolution, it doesn't make sense to have an evolved sense or quality that serves no purpose at all.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we experience fear. It's innate inside us, and there must be an evolutionary reason for that. And you're gonna do yourself a lot more good if you try to figure out what that reason is, rather than if you try to say, it's Satan!
Or to just shove it down or deny it or whatever. Thank you. I love that point. Like, and just to comment also about your whole, like, finding meaning in life, like, I loved that concept when I was Mormon, that, like, oh, everything happens for a reason. But now I've redefined it. I'm like, I am working to find good in any situation. Because I don't know if everything happens for a reason. But what I do know is that if I'm looking to try to find good in any situation, then I will come out better than if I am just, like, feeling like a victim of it. Like, oh, this is just a terrible thing that happened to me. Like, I'm trying to look at everything as an opportunity. Not that I'm perfect, but it seems to help a lot. Okay, so, overview. Many of us were taught that certain feelings or emotions were bad or wrong, or that we were a bad person if we felt those feelings. Not allowing us to feel all of our feelings holds us back in life. And every emotion has a gift, or maybe something you can learn from it.
It would kind of set off that trigger in your head if somebody told you that, you know, fear is from Satan, or the Holy Ghost is comfort. So anytime you experience sadness or fear, you're like, oh no, I must have done something wrong because the Holy Ghost isn't with me anymore.
Right.
I chased him away with, I don't know, something.
Porn.
Porn is always the answer.
Lastly, I have questions for you guys to answer. If you want to, join my Facebook group. It's in the link below. I have this new awesome Facebook group where I'm trying to make this channel more interactive so that we can heal and move forward together. So I'll have a post there with these questions listed. If you want to comment and answer, then you can read everyone else's answers too. We can do it together. Here's my questions, or comment below if you don't want to go on Facebook. 1. What feelings am I not allowed to feel? Question number 2. Why am I not allowed to feel these feelings? List every reason you can think of, whether it's Satan or abusive parent or whatever. List it all. 3. Are those reasons really true? And if not, how would I like to feel instead? And just to give you a small example, so like, let's say I'm not allowed to feel anger, and I'm not allowed to feel anger because of Satan, then I would say, is that really true? And I would say, hopefully, no, that's not true, and here's why. And from there, I would say, how would I like to feel instead? I'd like to feel like I can use my anger effectively to protect me and others when it's needed, and that I can see it as a gift, and that I can use it, and also use my rational brain in conjunction with it. Hopefully that makes sense. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. I'm really excited about the new direction I'm taking things in this year, and I hope you guys get a lot out of it, because that's the goal of this. Help you move forward. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.